Hello again, and thanks very much for joining us. This is Business Now. I am Michael Nath. The Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Chief Timothy Silva, has restated the government's commitment to achieving its net zero emission targets by 2060. The minister stated this in Minna, Niger State, according to a statement from the ministry signed by its Director of Information and Affair, Bob Manuel. Silva, whose address was delivered by the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry, Gabriel Aduda, informed that in demonstration of its commitment, Nigeria had commenced the mitigation and adaptation of proactive measures towards achieving its net zero emission targets by 2060. He noted that the event came at a time when global efforts were geared towards achieving lesser emissions. The minister noted that the recently concluded UN Climate Conference COP27 held in Egypt offered another opportunity for Nigeria to identify opportunities for cooperation and collaboration with other countries and international organizations. According to him, this collaboration would help accelerate mitigation and adaptation of proactive measures toward achieving the targets. The United Kingdom has announced that total trade in goods and services exports plus imports between it and Nigeria currently stands at £5.5 billion, as both sides confirmed their shared interests in pursuing a potential enhanced trade and investment partnership at the 8th and final UK-Nigeria Economic Development Forum. A statement issued on Monday by the press officer of the UK Deputy High Commissioner in Lagos, Ndidiamaka Eze, said that of this £5.5 billion total UK exports to Nigeria amounted to £3.3 billion in the 4 quarters to the end of second quarter of 2022, while total UK imports from Nigeria amounted to £2.2 billion in the 4 quarters to the end of second quarter of 2022. The agreement and the EDF Memorandum of Understanding came to a close on Monday, and the UK and Nigeria agreed that the enhanced trade and investment partnership will offer an alternative high-profile mechanism to progress bilateral economic issues of mutual strategic importance, under which both states will continue to work together to resolve market access issues and enhance economic cooperation. The Nigeria Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative has said that the country earned 741.48 billion naira from oil and gas sales between 1999 and 2020, a period of 21 years. The executive secretary of the organization, Obunaya Oji, who started at a stakeholders engagement forum on the implementation of the Petroleum Industry Act, PIA, in Abuja, further revealed that NEITI had conducted and published 25 cycles of audit reports in the oil and gas sector covering the same period. Oji said that from the reports, the amount accrued to the Nigerian government from the oil and gas sector during the period, stressing that NEITI had recently embarked on an expansion of its operations to support government's revenue growth plan. He expressed delight that NEITI'S reports had led to the recovery of several billions of dollars by government from companies operating in the sector. According to him, the recommendations made by NEITI in its reports also triggered huge reforms in the sector. Oji assured that NEITI would provide the information and data in the oil and gas sector that would help the Presidential Steering Committee, of which it is a member, to effectively implement the PIA. The contributions of telecommunications to the nation's real gross domestic product increased by 10.52% year-on-year to hit 7.28 trillion naira in the first 9 months of 2022. In the corresponding period of 2021, the sector contributed 6.58 trillion naira to real GDP. According to the National Bureau of Statistics, the sector contributed 11.99 trillion naira to nominal GDP within the period under review, a 17.83% year-on-year increase from the 10.18 trillion naira it was in the corresponding period of 2021. The NBS explained that gross output of telecoms and information services as revenue from telephone, telex, facsimile and telegram, and other income from satellite and internet services. Describing the contribution of the ICT sector to GDP in the third quarter of 2022, the NBS said, in nominal terms, in the third quarter of 2022, the sector growth was recorded at 20.32% year-on-year, a 9.15% points increase from the rate of 11.17% recorded in the same period of 2021 and 6.20% points higher than the rate recorded in the preceding quarter. The impact of telecoms on the GDP has been attributed to helping the nation navigate a recession storm recently. And while this contribution has been growing, the federal government has set its sight on a 30% overall sector contribution to GDP by 2025. The loans obtained from banks by operators in the nation's construction sector rose from 1.025 trillion naira in January 2022 to 1.157 trillion naira in October 2022. This according to the Central Bank of Nigeria sectoral analysis of deposit money banks credit, and data from CBN also showed that the firms borrowed the sum of 132 billion naira between January 2022 and October 2022. This coming days after a report by the National Bureau of Statistics revealed that construction services contributed 12.9 trillion naira to the gross domestic product in the first 3 quarters of 2022. In January this year, the governor of the central bank, Godwin Emefiele, said that the banking sector would increase access to finance and credit for households and businesses in 2022. However, stakeholders have maintained that the current double-digit lending rate is unfavorable as it directly impacts the cost of production and the competitiveness of the sector. The Central Bank of Nigeria has issued new guidelines for the licensing of banks and other financial institutions on the implementation of provisions of the anti-money laundering, combating the financing of terrorism, and countering proliferation of weapons of mass destruction financing regulations. In a circular released by the Apex Bank, it said the move was to ensure compliance with rules by individuals and entities applying for a license to operate as banks for other financial institutions. According to the CBN, the guidelines represent the minimum requirements for licensing of new financial institutions and should be read in conjunction with applicable laws and regulations. Effective planning should be the top priority for Nigeria's agricultural sector to maintain its momentum. This is a point raised by Remi Popola, an AGRIC expert on IBrandTV's Business Breakfast on Tuesday, in line with the recent statistics from the National Bureau of Statistics third quarter gross domestic product figures, which showed an uptick in the sector on quarter-on-quarter basis.
We need to strengthen their market, beyond what we are doing now. The market has to be involved in lots of export, so that it can really give a good leap to agric sector. So by and large, you find out that climate change also contributed to it, which is part of what is the issue. Like I said, flood and other kind of thing. So if we can do a kind of planning ahead, have a plan ahead so that we can mitigate against some of those things, then we should be able to have a continuous growth. And again, that we need improvement in the agric sector. Improvement in that it has to be by now we're supposed to be getting to the area of mechanized agricultural now.
Okay.
It's not harvest in all the seasons and not only a particular season. I think that's by and large, that's what I think the contributed to that drop.
The Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria has raised the alarm over the increasing rate of tax revenue leakages in the digital economy. The institute said despite the advantages linked to the expansion of the digital economy, challenges arising from tax implications of the digital economy, and perhaps the most urgent, that bedevil revenue authorities, policymakers, international organizations, and tax professionals. President and Chairman of the Council, CITN, Additional Adedayo, revealed this during the Institute's 47th induction ceremony, noting that tax administration in Nigeria remained unclear on the most effective and efficient way to tax the digital economy. He said the challenges arising from technological advancement and intricate business models continue to mount, thus increasing the likelihood of tax revenue leakages. Now, still to come, oil slumps to $82 on China worries. Details of this and more after this commercial break. Stay with us.